They're from three different faith traditions. They represent the cross-section of the interreligious community here in the capital city, and today we're going to be having an interreligious dialogue. Stay with us on Austin Faith Dialogue.
Austin Faith Dialogue, at the crossroads of religion and life. A series highlighting the cultural and social interactions between the worshiping and religious communities in and around the capital city. Austin Faith Dialogue is brought to you by the Austin Metropolitan Ministries in cooperation with KXAN. Join us now in Austin Faith Dialogue.
Hello, I'm Richard Thompson of Austin Metropolitan Ministries, welcoming you to this edition of the show. And today we've got a very special show to highlight the diversity of religious life in this capital city area. We are in the midst of a change in this country and in this city in terms of what we now enjoy as many-colored, many-spectrum kind of religious life that was not true at one time in this nation. And as we move into the 21st century, we're called upon to have an appreciation of what that diversity means for us and what each faith tradition can contribute to the larger whole. Today we have three persons who are with us that are representing this diversity. We have, first of all, Amy Greenspan from Congregation Beth Israel.
Right.
And then we have with us as a Hindu minister, Meera Devi from the Barsana Dham. It's Devi.
Davy, that's correct.
As in
Meera
Davy
Devi.
Crockett, I remember now. Thank you. And then we have J.L. Brown from St. Austin Catholic Church.
Correct, Richard. Thank you.
And I want you to know that we have then this group that is, not all of you are in the Interfaith Commission, that is Austin Metropolitan Ministries' way of helping people be in dialogue. But you are all in part of this common contribution to the community. And I'd like for you just to start out with you, if you would, J.L., because you have a particular role that you play in your Catholic faith community. Could you tell us about that?
Yes, I do, Richard. It's not an unusual role. It's called a lay leader, but all the laity within the Catholic Church, and particularly within St. Austin's Catholic parish here in we all get involved in various ministries at various levels of activity. It may be one ministry, it may be several.
Now, what is yours?
At this time, my ministries are several. Within St. Austin's, I'm involved in what we call the Ministry of the Word, which I am a reader-elector in any of our services,
Okay.
and also a Eucharistic minister. In terms of outreach, that's been my focus because as a Catholic, and because of our social teachings of our church, and also because the special charism that St. Austin's has because of the Paulist Fathers there, we do get involved in social outreach. So I'm involved in homeless issues, feeding children, the young people on the drag. We have a new outreach program with many of the churches here in Austin where together we're providing sack lunches down at the work center where day laborers are hired. And there's a variety of there. I've been working with the other, our what we call Christian Service Commission. The Protestant Brethren often call it mission ministries.
All right.
And various outreach.
You know what? That's a lot. You're doing a lot. Your church is doing a lot.
Yes, we are.
And you have, in a way, I'd say he's almost answered the question that we were going to start out with each of us, and that is, what does our particular faith community contribute to the larger community? And you've got us going very well in that direction.
Well, okay.
Amira, with the Barsana Dham, what is your role as a Hindu minister there?
I'm a teacher, and so I speak on the Vedic Hindu scriptures, and I do that both at the temple and in Austin and in many other cities in the Texas area.
Okay,
And
teaching is your forte then, your calling in a sense.
I am a teacher of this tradition, and I'm also president of the International Society of Divine Love that established Barsana Dham, and I'm very involved in the activities connected with the temple. And I'm also a delegate of Austin Metropolitan Ministries and connected with the Interfaith Commission.
President of this international organization?
Yes.
We have in Austin, Texas, the president and you.
The
What does that
international,
involve?
that involves a lot of administrative duties at the temple. And we have one of the largest Hindu temples in the country established at Barsanadham, which has services not only the Hindu community of Austin, but we have a number of members of our congregation from a wide and diverse ethnic backgrounds.
All right. Well, I'd like to come back to that because I think that in itself is a contribution that wouldn't be made otherwise without your group. Now, meanwhile, over at Congregation of Beth Israel, I've got you down as the social action chairman.
Right.
Does that mean organizing dances?
No, social action really means community service. It has two aspects, community service and then addressing social justice issues.
I see. Social justice kind of.
Right,
Okay.
right. We do both, or we try to do both anyway.
Well, give us an example of social issues, social action.
Probably our biggest citywide community service effort on the community service side of it is what we call Mitzvah Day. We held our first one last April, and it was a single day to give everyone in the congregation, and actually we did it together with another congregation, the conservative congregation in town, in Gudesachem. The two congregations got together, lined up 20 different community service projects throughout Austin, as well as 5 different collection drives. And we had over 900 people participate in that one day. We had everything from parks and graffiti cleanup with the City of Austin, to folks out at the Humane Society, to our choir singing at our nursing home, landscaping at Casa Marianella and Doug's house, a crew out at the children's shelter, just a wide variety of opportunities. The idea being not only to do a whole lot of good for the community on that one day, but to get our members hooked on volunteering and doing community service and want to keep it up.
You want to get your members hooked?
Yeah, on community service and
Well,
volunteer work, absolutely.
Well, that sounds healthy then. Okay, well, I guess the question comes to mind, though, is you talk about this mitzvah day, as you call it.
Right.
What in Hebrew does mitzvah mean?
Mitzvah literally means commandment. It has sort of a colloquial meaning, though, of good deed. In this context,
All right.
It's used as good deed. That is one of the commandments, to do good deeds.
Now is that what your congregation does, one day of good deeds?
No, we do plenty of things all year round, too. We have quite a few ongoing programs. We're active in Austin Interfaith. We're an adopter of Norman Elementary School. We hold a big annual food drive for the Capital Area Food Bank on our High Holy Days. We have a care team with Austin, the Interfaith Care Alliance.
A lot.
A lot.
Yeah, okay.
Various and sundry walks, the crop walk, the AIDS walk, the walk
Okay.
for safe families.
So,
all
in a
those
way,
kinds of
this
things.
one day is just to kind of, as you say, get people introduced to the possibilities that are year-round.
Right,
Yeah.
right. I guess Habitat for Humanity is the other big one I'm leaving out, but we always
All right.
participate in that.
Well, now, I know that you're part of the Interfaith Commission of Austin Metropolitan Ministries,
That's
the
correct.
same organization that is the sponsor of our program here. But your program with the Interfaith Commission does what?
We have a interfaith Thanksgiving service every year in Austin. That is an excellent service that brings together different faith communities in remembrance of giving thanks to God. And that happens annually. And there are...
Let's just pause there because I think we've got a graphic that shows that on Sunday, November the 22nd, 3 o'clock p.m. at Our Lady of Maronite Church is the 14th annual Interfaith Thanksgiving service.
That's
And that's what
correct.
you're talking about.
Yes, and that's going to be a very fascinating service that will include many different faith traditions, including the Sufis of Austin, the Sikhs of Austin. There will be representation from the Muslim community, from Congregation Beth Israel are participating, and then Catholic, Orthodox, and Protestant, and a number of other faith traditions will be participating in that service.
You know what? I don't think Austin had anything like that before Austin Metropolitan Ministries launched this 14 years ago. I mean, to me, it's the organization plays a unique role in providing that opportunity to highlight to the whole community that Thanksgiving, which is a national holiday, is for all the folks now that are on these shores in this mix, this variety of faith traditions. And what a wonderful thing in Austin, Texas, for us to be able to do that. I just have to just focus long enough on that so that people will take note, and if they haven't come before, it's
yes,
open
and
to
it's
everyone,
open
right?
to the public. Everyone can come and participate and give thanks to God on that day. And it is especially held in the afternoon, so it does not generally conflict with any of the
Right.
normal service times on a Sunday of the different congregations.
And last
or
year
on
it was
Saturday.
held at your place.
Last year we hosted it at Barsanadham, and it was a very wonderful opportunity for people to come and be together in that environment.
How long has the Hindu temple been here in Austin?
We dedicated the temple in 1994. We purchased the property and started holding services there in 1990. And in 1993, some members of Austin Metropolitan Ministries came to visit us and told us about Austin Metropolitan Ministries, and we became a member congregation shortly after that and participated in our first interfaith Thanksgiving service in 1994. And through Austin Metropolitan Ministries, we have also come to know about projects like Hands-on Housing that members of our community participated in last year
All right.
and the year before.
Just a little comparison. You know how long St. Austin has been a congregation in Austin, Texas?
Yes, the Congregation of St. Austin's was founded in 1908 at the request at that time of the bishop that covered practically all of Texas. And he had invited the Paulist Fathers out of the East, which is very unusual because it is an American religious
Right.
organization.
1908. What about your congregation?
I don't know the exact date, but I know we celebrated our 125th anniversary of the congregation a couple of years ago, I think.
All right.
Maybe 120th.
All right. Well,
It's been around since the 1880s, I think.
I think you take the prize for being around the longest. But listen, we're going to take a pause here we can all take a breath, and then we're going to come back and invite you folks to be with us on the second half of our show, where we're having today this interreligious dialogue. Stay with us. Welcome back to Austin Faith Dialogue, where I am pleased today to have three folks from three aspects of the religious community. We have Amy Greenspan from Congregation Beth Israel. We have from Barsanadham, Mira Davy. And we have from St. Austin Catholic Church, J.L. Brown. And in the first half, we were talking about, you know, how long each of your congregations has been here in your faith community, and how you are relating to the larger community, and the way in which part of this is through common service efforts. I mean, they've mentioned several things here that I think you folks at the Catholic Church there at St. Austin's also participate in.
Right. Both, particularly when Amy was talking about all the involvement and activities there, I just wanted to say ditto.
Really?
Because many of these activities...
I thought Rush Limbaugh was the only one that says ditto.
Oh, gosh.
Okay.
No, he isn't.
But you were going to
It's
say...
a Catholic term, meaning universal.
Okay.
Not necessarily Roman. Certainly the various walks in town.
Okay.
We're involved in the AIDS Walk, the Crop Walk, Walking the Walk for Austin Metropolitan Ministries.
Right.
There's several others. We've been involved in the March of Dimes, Mother's March. It just goes on in terms of those. There's a number of other activities that Amy mentioned and Mira Davey mentioned that are very interfaith and involve many of the faith communities here in Austin, where we join together either in a social outreach service or in activities like walks, which we're trying to raise the funds to
Right.
keep those type of services going through various organizations, and not just Austin Metropolitan Ministries. There's activities in Interfaith Austin too that I know our congregations get involved in. St. Austin certainly does, that go into Austin Interfaith recently had activities focusing around job opportunities and preparing people to interview their skill levels, what skills were involved. I think another area of activity has been the interfaith hospitality. And
the Interfaith Hospitality Network for
right, for
homeless families.
Homeless families.
Right,
This is a
right.
very unique program. There are pods of 13 churches. Right now we have the 13 churches in Austin. We would like to get more pods organized, but basically what it involves are families, and by family we're identifying at least one parent figure and children. Children, there must always be children involved, whether both
Right.
parents are there or one children.
Right.
But these 13 congregations pledge 4 weeks of the year, and they generally alternate or at various times during the year where they will host the families that are currently within this particular
And
pod.
St. Austin is one of those 13
St. Austin's
churches.
is one of those churches. There are a
I know
number
I
of
was
them.
serving Central Presbyterian Church downtown when this started, and we were in partnership with St. Mary's.
Oh, right.
I mean, we had the facility to have these folks stay overnight, and St. Mary's had a number of people that were willing to come and help cook and tutor and other aspects of that. So that would be another example of a cooperative effort.
Correct.
Now, I think that in the first half you were listing some of the things that you all are doing in terms of community outreach and social action. And to what extent does that grow out of Hindu faith teaching?
Hindu faith and religion has a lot to contribute to improving the society, because inherent in our religion is respect for all religions, respect for all people, and the basic principle that every human being is a soul, a divine soul. So therefore, the race or religion of a person or the cultural background of a person there's no judgmental nature against that in our religion. So I feel that aspect of spirituality of Hindu religion is a very valuable contribution in our teachings, and that is reflective in the lives of our congregation. We have in Austin about 2,000 Hindu Indian families.
Yes, I was going to ask you about that.
And the Barsanadham Hindu temple is the only Hindu temple in our area. And we have people visiting not only from Austin, but from surrounding areas.
How far afield is that?
We have people visit from all over the country because our Barsanadham is situated on 200 acres of land, and it's actually a place of pilgrimage. It's not just the temple, it's a tremendous facility there, and we have ongoing classes of Sanskrit language, the language of our scriptures.
Mm-hmm.
We have also aspects of our religion that relate to Hindu culture, like dance and music, that are very important contributions. And people come there to learn those.
So you're a teaching center
aspects.
for the
We're a resource,
nationally even.
actually internationally. It's an international center, and people come from even India and as far afield as New Zealand. And I'd just like to mention that we recently celebrated the Hindu Festival of Lights, and we had tremendous rain in the hill country. A lightning bolt hit our main transformer. We had no electricity.
Oh my
The
word.
roads were flooded. And by evening, the lights came on, and even though cars were rerouted, we still had over 1,000 people came to celebrate the Festival of Lights in a atmosphere of harmony and cooperation. And that's the tremendous spiritual faith of Hindu people to come out and remember the very... Because unless and until we improve the spirituality of ourselves, it's rather like a doctor. If we keep giving a medicine, but we don't cure the actual ailment, until we are spiritually rejuvenated in the positive qualities of which all the religious communities contribute to improve the morality of the society, basic principles of respect for others, of not lying, of not stealing, all the basic. This is what our religious communities offer.
And this is one thing that comes to mind too, is that, and I would suspect in both the Catholic tradition and the Jewish tradition, your social action grows out of your spirituality.
Very much so.
And you give us a sense
Very
of how
much
that
so.
works for you.
Well, there are many passages throughout the Old Testament that I think many people are familiar with. Love thy neighbor as thyself. Welcome the stranger, for you are a stranger in the land of Egypt. There's a portion about saving the corners of your field, not reaping the corners of your field and saving them for the poor. There's a concept that probably not as many people are familiar with called excuse me, tikkun olam, which means repairing our broken world. It's a concept that those of us involved in social action like a lot, and that's kind of a nice way to look at the work we do out in the community, is that we're trying to draw together all the pieces of our broken world and make it whole again.
Is Hebrew?
Tikkun olam, yes.
And it means literally?
I don't know.
But
I'm sorry.
The effect of this to repair.
Repairing our broken world is the concept.
Yeah. It reminds me a little bit of Nehemiah, where they're rebuilding the walls in Jerusalem, and the reconstruction process that goes on in the Hebrew Scriptures over and over again. Okay, now let's hear about the Catholics. Where is your spirituality? How does that manifest itself, or how do you define that in terms of the way it manifests itself in your social action?
Our spirituality,
Yes.
how it manifests itself. Well, the scriptures for us include the Jewish scriptures and Hebrew scriptures, but we also include the teachings of Jesus Christ, the founder of Christianity, and those scriptures reflected his teachings, his beliefs, the spirit that he left to guide us as it was reflected in the early church. And from that, it is always this spirituality and action, prayer, work. And this is of your own, of the Protestant denominations. This is a strong ethic, and not just an ethic, but a firm religious belief that guides and directs us. So our spirituality and our relationship of being, imitating Christ, following Christ, and being Christ to others takes us into the outreach, to the social action, to the work.
So that ties together your reading as a lector, reader in your church.
Right.
It feeds into what you do in the community.
Right, and that's a very interesting note because this goes very strongly back to our Jewish roots and in storytelling. And it's by hearing that we receive the presence of God and the message of God is given to us. And it takes different manifestations as each of us hears it. But if it is right and well directed and following, in our case, Jesus.
Right. Okay, so we've got in all faith traditions, at least the ones that are represented here today, this interaction, this inseparability between spirit and work, spirit and justice.
Absolutely.
And the one other thing that there's an image that comes to mind as you all have talked. I think you all have mentioned, used the word walk, crop walk the walk, and that my guess is that in Hindu teaching there is a reference to walking as an expression of spirituality.
There's a beautiful verse that says, Jo tu dhave ekapaga tome dhau sat. And it's, if you walk one step towards me, towards God, I walk 60 steps towards you. And Bharsanatham is all about teaching that pure love of God. And in our Hindu religion, we have many different branches of Hindu religion. The beauty of Bharsanatham is that it brings everyone together. India itself has many different diverse cultures within it. But Bharsanatham is a place where everyone comes together to worship the one God.
So walking is a metaphor.
Walking is a metaphor.
Okay.
Walk one step towards me,
All right.
and I walk 60 towards you.
All right. Well, we can take that with us.
Yes.
And
Beautiful image.
in Hebrew scriptures, you've got walk humbly with your God.
Absolutely, yes.
Do justice, love mercy, and walk humbly. I mean, I'm just trying to make that connection with walking as a metaphor, and within the Christian tradition, you have something similar to that.
Well, we have a number of references to walking, and the strongest one that comes to me is when, after Jesus' crucifixion and death, was on the road to Emmaus.
Road to Emmaus.
And the two gentlemen walking there,
Right.
and Christ.
We're going to soon have to walk out of this studio because we're within seconds of ending the program. But I want to remind folks of the November 22nd Thanksgiving service. Thank you for bringing that to our attention. And thank you all for being here. You've just done a fine job of representing your faith traditions and of your contribution to the community as a whole.
Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for
Richard.
having us.
May God be with each of you and your loved ones. And with you folks. Come back with us next week on Austin Faith Dialogue, and peace be with you.